Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel BandysBooks, and today we are here to talk about the new releases coming out in the month of July. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about each of these books one by one, go over the summaries, why I'm excited about them, and hopefully at the end of this video you'll have a couple new books to add to your TBR for the month of July. First up, we're gonna be talking about the books that are releasing on the 6th of July. We're gonna be talking about The Girl in Lifeboat 6 by Eliza Graham. This currently has a 4.50 and about 18 ratings on Goodreads so far. This is a historical fiction that's set in 1941. Our main character, Romilly, accepts a job as a nanny for a young boy named Freddie and his grandmother. She's set to accompany them on a journey from war-torn London to the safety of New York. But as they cross the ocean, Romilly is increasingly nervous about the German U-boats and the potential for being sunk. And then it happens. They get hit with a torpedo and Romilly and Freddie are thrust into the ocean. With rescue uncertain, Romilly has to confront an uncomfortable truth that she and Freddie may not survive. I'm really excited about this book because I really love historical fiction, first of all, and I've read a ton of World War II historical fiction in particular. But what I'm really interested with this one is that this doesn't take place like stateside or, in Europe or in Japan. This takes place on a ship out in the ocean. This isn't soldiers, this is regular people trying to escape the direct conflict and being thrust into a really terrible situation. I also really love stories of survival and people overcoming insurmountable odds. I think that this is going to have a bit of that. So I am really looking forward to picking this one up when it comes out. Now we're going to talk about books that are releasing on the 11th of July. The first book releasing on the 11th is The Paris Agent by Kelly Rimmer. This currently has a 4.38 and about 85 ratings on Goodreads so far. This is also a historical fiction, and while it's set in the 1970s, it does tie in directly with World War II. This book centers around a character named Noah Ainsworth, who was a renowned British operative in France during World War II. A critical head injury has left Noah with huge gaps in his memory and a burning question: who was the mysterious agent who saved his life after this traumatic injury? Now in the 1970s, his daughter Charlotte is determined to find him answers, and it leads her through a whole adventure of espionage and possible double agents. This also sounds really interesting because we're not just dealing with somebody that's actively in war. This is more, all these years later, this person reflecting on their memories of war. I'm sure that it's going to deal with trauma. I'm sure that it's going to deal with some really difficult topics, but I actually really like that this is like a reflection and like trying to piece different pieces together. I think that it might have a little bit of a mystery element combined with that historical fiction, so I'm here for it. I think this is going to be a good read. Also releasing on the 11th, we have The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandrasekera. This currently has a 3.67 and about 100 reviews on Goodreads so far. I actually have an ARC copy of this via NetGalley, and I haven't read it yet, but I am hoping to get through it in the next week or two. This book is a combination of fantasy and sci-fi, a little bit of adventure sprinkled in, and it features a main character named Fetter who is raised as a weapon to kill his sainted father. This gives him plenty to talk about in therapy. After a blood-soaked childhood, Fetter escaped to the city of Luriat. The thing about Luriat is that it is peppered with all of these bright doors. And these bright doors will cause Fetter to decide what type of man he's going to be. I think that the fate of the kingdom is also going to rest on what he ends up deciding for himself. So this one sounds really interesting. It's getting kind of mixed reviews. I feel like this is kind of right up my alley. I love a good fantasy sci-fi. I like the idea of all these potential doors with these different choices that our main character is going to have to face. Even just the summary of this book seems like there's a good amount of humor mixed into this. I'm here for it. I think this is going to be a cool read. And actually the cover of this book is one that's really stunning. That's what initially drew me to this on NetGalley. Next up, we're going to talk about books releasing on the 18th of July. We're going to be talking first about Immortal, Longings by Chloe Gong. This currently has a 4.11 and about 593 ratings on Goodreads so far. This is a fantasy retelling of Shakespeare's Cleopatra and Antony. Every year, thousands flock to the twin city capital of Tallinn, where there is a competition and everyone fights to the death for immense riches. Princess Kella is in hiding, but she is entering this competition in the hopes of winning and finally having a chance to kill her reclusive uncle, King Kasa, and bring down the monarchy. Anton, the kingdom's best jumper, will also be competing for a chance to win these riches in order to fund medical care for his childhood love. Anton and Calla become allies and are unexpectedly aided by August, King Casa's adopted son. So I'm excited for this book. This is the first adult fantasy that Chloe Gong has ever written. She has previously written These Violent Delights, which was a duology, and she has another series going right now that's like Foul Lady Fortune. And I love the idea of playing with Shakespeare, particularly something different than the typical Romeo and Juliet. And then we have the Jasad Heir by Sara Hashem, that currently has a 4.31 and about 266 ratings on Goodreads so far. 10 years ago, the empire of Jasad was burned to the ground, leaving only one surviving heir. The lost heir of Jasad, Sylvia, never wants to be found. But in a moment of danger, Sylvia's magic exposes her to the enemy and puts her into a cat and mouse game where she has to survive while being chased by the heir to the enemy empire. This sounds so good to me. It was compared to The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, which I really loved. And so I'm hoping I'm gonna love this one as much. It's got that Middle Eastern vibe, and I'm curious to see how some of that mythology and folklore gets mixed into the story. I'm curious to find out about the magic structures. I love kind of the maneuvering and things that are gonna go on here. I'm wondering if this is gonna be an enemies to lovers romance type situation. I have so many questions and I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. Then we're going to talk about books releasing on the 25th of July. The first one we're going to talk about is Calla by Colin Walsh. And real quick, I just want to make one note. For my UK viewers, this is, I believe, coming out on the 6th in the UK. And for my viewers who are from the States, this comes out the 25th stateside. This currently has a 4.11 and about 141 reviews on Goodreads so far. This is a literary thriller set in an Irish seaside village where three old friends are meeting for the first time in many, many years. They were once part of a group of 6 until the disappearance of the group's leader, Calla. Now remains have been found in the woods, and there is a Polaroid in the pocket of the clothing on the remains. And when 2 more girls go missing, the 3 friends must confront their complicity in the events that led to Calla's disappearance. This sounds really interesting to me. I feel like this isn't going to be the typical like super suspenseful thriller. I feel like this is going to be like a little bit more reflective, thoughtful, maybe a little quieter of a thriller. I don't think that this is going to be like wild theories with all these red herrings and plot twists. I think that this is going to be like more of a straightforward thing that explores like how people ignore warning signs, how people can be unintentionally complicit in bad actions. I am really looking forward to this. This sounds really intriguing to me. Then we have The Little Village of Book Lovers by Nina George. This currently has a 3.54 and about 125 reviews. This is literary, fantasy, romance, a whole mix of a bunch of different things, maybe a little bit of historical fiction too. It's set in the 1960s in a small town in the south of France. I believe that this book is related to the Little Paris bookshop, kind of explains some of the backstory to that story. This book starts when a dazzling experience with love itself marks infant orphan Marie-Jeanne forever. She can now see the actual physical marks of love on people, and this leads her to play matchmaker within her small village, bringing true loves together. I'm not usually a big romance reader, but this one sounds unique. It's not so focused on 2 characters falling in love with each other, but focused on, I think, bringing people together, different people, and matchmaking, and I guess the qualities that cause people to fall in love. So I think this could be an interesting read. And the final new release that I'm excited about in July is called The Last Tree, A Seed of Hope, and it's by Luke Adam Hawker. This book is a child's book, and it has beautiful drawings in it, which is one of the first things that was really interesting to me. But the concept for this book sounds really interesting as well. In a world much like our own, but completely devoid of trees, there's a young girl who uses her imagination to visualize a different world. And her actions end up actually sowing the seeds of new life within her own world. This is being compared to several really popular kids' books, and it just looks so sweet. I love the fact that it's talking about trees and the value of trees in a world, and I think it's going to be a very meaningful book. I don't usually pay too much attention to kids' books that are releasing, but this one I have a feeling might be special. So I'm looking forward to checking this out at some point. So that being said, those are all of the releases I wanted to talk about for July. If you're curious about some other new releases, I have my book of the month prediction video up here. All of those books are books that I'll be releasing in July as well, so you can definitely look at that if you want some more suggestions. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and comment down below. Let me know what book you're most excited about for July. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video, and that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.